One thing, if you have like, this is a note of, or an advice tip for people, if you have like electric scooters, Curry style scooters, and you notice like the battery's charged, but then all of a sudden it doesn't seem like it wants to move, it might be your controller contact points. Every so often you might want to pull the controller out and look at it, because they use that hot glue or whatever to seal the contact points to try to make them waterproof. But if they get too hot, what happens is that glue starts to melt and it gets all over the contacts and blocks the connection. So then your motor's not going to turn on. I don't know why I'm going so slow, but your motor won't turn on because the controller is not getting any energy from your battery, no electricity. So every so often, there might not be anything catastrophically wrong if your scooter just quits working one day. Just pop it open and disconnect all your connectors that have the hot glue on them, if they have it on there, and then see if there's any glue on the contact points. And if there is, just get some Goo Gone or something and wipe it off of there, and it should start working again. But make sure before you do that to disconnect the battery from the controller first, and then check your contact points, and then clean them off if they're dirty, then plug everything back in, and should always plug your battery in last. It should be the last thing you plug in. That's my tip for the day, because I've had that happen on Curry style motors that are basically scooter motors that they adapted to work on e-bikes. The contacts would get all gooed up, and then I'd be like, oh, why is my bike not going? What the hell? And then that was why. And also sometimes if you're riding and you notice, like, say if you have a kit, or you notice that your bike's getting really hot, like where the controller is, you might want to check it, because if you, what might happen is your phase wires might be starting to fuse together. Like if you notice your motor starts acting jerky and you're like, why is it jerky? It's because your phase wires, or the insulation, starting to heat up and melt on them, and the wires are starting to cross. That's one thing I don't agree with, how they mount a lot of controllers on e-bikes, how they like try to hide everything and secret everything away, because they get too hot when they're inside of a frame. There's no way for them to bleed off the heat. There's no heat sink on them or no fan on them, and they overheat, and then your wires start to melt. And then your shit doesn't work anymore.